Would you like to learn how to crochet a super easy hand towel? Hello everybody, this is Deb from Just Do Something Homestead, and today I'm going to show you a super easy crocheted pattern to make hand towels. 2 weeks ago, I shared my pattern to make crocheted dishcloths. And wow, was I surprised by how much interest there really was. And it didn't take long until people started requesting my scrubby pattern. Here we are 1 week later, and now I'm being asked to share my hand towel pattern. So let's get started. This pattern calls for 2 different sizes of crochet hooks. The first one is a J, which is also a size 10. That is a 6.00 millimeter. The other one is an H, which is also called number 8, and that one is a 5.00 millimeter. And as far as yarns, well, that gets a little tricky. For all my kitchen items, I always stick with 100% cotton yarn. And typically, I buy these little skeins of peaches and cream. But there's one thing I really don't like, and that is weaving in ends. That's why I never do granny squares. When I'm done crocheting, I want to be done crocheting. These cute little skeins are about 100 yards long. You're going to need almost 400. So you have a choice. You can get 4 of these and then have to connect them and then have to weave in the ends. But nope, that's not for me. So you have options. You could buy this big skein and it'll make almost 2, just under 2 of these hand towels. But today I decided 1 seam would be okay. So I am going with 2 of these. They are the Mainstays 100% cotton yarn. And honestly, I love it because it's so much softer than peaches and cream. Size 4, which is a medium yarn. I use that size for nearly all of my kitchen items. I'm going to show you how to do a solid colored hand towel. Now the pattern is very similar if you want to do it in stripes, and I will include that at the end. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you how to do a solid colored hand towel. You're going to need between 360 and 400 yards of 100% cotton yarn. The dimensions of your finished product is going to be 12 inches wide and 24 inches long. Here is a close-up of the stitch. It is called the marriage stitch. It's a combination of slip stitch and then the next one is half double crochet. I want to pull my yarn out of the center of the skein, and here's a little trick for you. In fact, I am going to hide some hints all through this video of things that have just helped me on my crocheting journey. All right, for this hint, you're going to want to look at each end and see if you can find a yarn that's coming out from it. And right there is one. It goes deep into the skein. So you're going to start by pulling this one out. All right, this one is not the one you want to use. That's actually the outside piece. So I tuck that in and I go to the other side. Now this is the tricky part. Some people say it's like a burp, but you want to find the center. And the easiest way is to kind of reach down in there, and more often than not, you're going to get a glob. It's okay. So try to find a smaller portion of that glob. Yep. And there it is. There's the glob. Now out of this, you're going to find the end. And there it is. Now I have been crocheting for over 50 years, and I'm always amazed that every video I make, I am harshly criticized and told I'm doing it wrong. Please let me tell you from the start, if you do something different, it's not wrong. I am a teacher. I teach 4th graders, and I spend a lot of my time saying different is not wrong. You are going to start with your J hook. In fact, you can just set that down, and I'm going to show you how to do a slip knot. Now, this was one of them that someone said, that's not how you do a slip knot. Yes, honey, that is how you do one. So I am right-handed. That's my dominant hand. I am going to hold this. Now, I am also going to give you another hint. Make sure you have a long tail to start with. That gives you more to work into your project from the start so that you don't have to catch up and do it later. So it's easier if you have a long tail. All right, from this point, I'm going to wrap this yarn around my finger cross it in the back, and turn my hand over. Reach for your J hook, and you're going to go under and over, and then just pull it. And there's that slip knot that's not how you make a slip knot. Right there is your slip knot. Give it a little tug. And here is my next hint. Your project is actually going to be completely crocheted with a smaller hook. The problem is you need to have a very loose chain, and many people struggle with this, and they end up with a chain that is bigger in one loop, smaller in the other, or as hard as they try, it's just too small. So I go up 2 hook sizes to do my chain, and that's exactly what I have done. So that is why I am starting with a J, so that all my stitches will be a little bit bigger. And now it is finally time to start crocheting. What you want to do is crochet 41 chain stitches, so you don't have to worry about getting it tight or loose, just normal stitches. This is what 41 stitches looks like. If you want a towel that is wider than 12 inches, then add more stitches. If you think 12 inches is a little too wide for you, just make it less. The only thing that's critical, make sure it's an odd number. Very important, the first thing you're going to do is switch hooks. You no longer need that J hook. You're going to switch it to the H, put it on that last loop, and tighten it up. There you go. Now we want to look at this chain. We're coming out of here, so we want to go to the 1, 2 loop beyond your hook, and you're going to put in a slip stitch. Let me move it closer. Slip stitch like that. Then the next stitch, remember we made them really big on purpose. The next stitch here is your half double. And that is the marriage stitch. It simply goes back and forth. First one slip, second one half. And so let's go to the next one. And we're going to do a slip stitch. And the next one, half double. You're going to keep doing this all the way to the end of the row. I just finished my first row going from slip stitch to half double all the way across until I got to the very last stitch. And this is my next hint. As you know, I don't like weaving in ends, so I do them as I go. Now I just put in that half double. I'm actually, let me bring it closer, going to take my hook, even with that loop on, that's okay, and stick it down through that stitch. It's going to make sense, trust me. Then I'm going to grab my tail and pull it up through that stitch like that. Now right now I got 2 loops on there. This front one is my tail, so pull it through, and look what it's done. It has put that tail into that next row, and now when I crochet, I'm going to crochet in those ends right on top of the next stitches. Let's move on to row 2. First thing you're going to do is a chain stitch and turn. Now it looks a little odd because you have this tail there, but I want to look at these stitches. This is the second row, and you're going to see this bigger stitch. That's the texture of this pattern. These 2 V's right here, that is not where you're going to put your hook. You actually need to turn it towards you. And when you do that, you're going to see the V is here and here. So slip your hook in there. And the first stitch is always a slip stitch. And there's your slip. Now it's kind of ironic, but that was a big stitch that you went into. This next one is smaller. And again, there's the V on top. It's tighter, but the tighter ones are where you put the half double crochet. The looser ones in the next row is where you're going to put your slip stitch. And keep on going. I like to do about 10 stitches with that tail on top, and I will show you why. So keep on crocheting until you have 10 stitches. This is what 10 stitches looks like, and this tail is still here. I'm going to move the tail out of the way, and now I can just crochet doing this pattern all the way to the end. Remember, if you can't see those V's, turn it towards you. The last stitch I did was a half double, so the next one, it's a bigger space, is going to be a slip stitch. So just leave that tail hanging out in front and continue until the end of the row. And here is row 2. There's your little tail still hanging on. The reason we stopped is we went this way. I'm going to pull it up when I get over there and then change the direction, weave it in going this way. I have found that that makes the tightest seam so that your tails don't come out. I'm at the end of this row. The other thing I don't do with most of my projects is put a border on it, whether it's a blanket or a dishcloth. I don't care much for borders. So one thing I like to do is to crochet the border right in it. This first one is the most difficult one to find. So just kind of try to find it the best you can. But I am looking again for a V. There is one there. It's kind of stuck together. There's a V. And I'm going to put that last stitch, which was a half double, into it. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now, this time when I go back, I'm looking for that tail so that I stop stitching about 10 stitches from the end. So crochet from where we are until that tail. We are about 10 stitches from the end, and if I look on the back, I'm going to see this tail. So like before, I need to pull that tail up, and so I'm going to go down the next stitch until I'm right next to him, grab that tail and bring him up, which is going to bring him into the middle of the next stitch. Here's the tail right there. All right, so I'm just going to lay him on top of the stitches and complete this row. There is my tail. I only have one more stitch to go, so I am going to trim off the rest of it. There's the tail. No more tails until this project is completely done. Now that I have a couple rows behind me, it's a little bit easier to find exactly where I need to put this last stitch. So what I'm going to do is yarn over, and I'm going to look for that V, and it's in the row below. It's a little loose, and that is where I put my stitch. Just like that. It's difficult to tell at this point, but it's starting to form the edging on the side of my projects. What I'm going to do is show you what it looks like on a dishcloth. Is the edging that stitch forms all along the outside. So it's really kind of cool. Believe it or not, you're pretty much at the end of this project. You know all the stitches involved, where to find that end stitch. You're just going to chain 1 and turn and keep going. Always start with a slip stitch followed by a half double crochet. It's the marriage stitch, and go the whole way across. Now, I don't count how many rows that I want until the end of my project. First off, this stitch is very difficult to count the rows, and so I prefer instead to measure it. So if I have 12 inches going across, then I want 24 inches for the length. And here is my towel completed. What I love about this stitch is it's thick, it's soft, and it's very, very absorbent. So I think you're going to be pleased with the quality of your hand towels. Now, before I leave, I promised you I would give you the pattern for my striped towels. So the stitch is exactly the same. It's the marriage stitch. So we start with 8 rows of the solid, then 4 rows of the multicolored, followed by 4 rows of the solid. So we're talking 16 rows right here. And then this center part is just rows and rows that go through of just the multicolored. These 16 rows are only 4 inches wide. So you have 4 inches here and 4 inches there for a total of 8. That leaves you 16 inches of the multicolored down the center. Used a large skein to do the center, which is the bulk of it. But for these 2 smaller ones, I was able to use one of these in a solid color. And by having 2 colors, I'm able to make some extra things from the excess that is left over, like this scrubby. And as far as weaving in the ends every time you change a color, I didn't. I don't like weaving in ends. So what I did on this one, I trailed the yellow along the side. Then when I got to the yellow, I used the yellow and I trailed the white along the inside. And that way you don't have to have so many cuts and so many ends that you weave in. If you are planning on selling your creations, what I like to do is 1 hand towel, 1 matching scrubby, and 2 dishcloths. Now this one I would replace with the colors that I use, but this is the only one I have right now. And I sell this set for $20. But as I say in a lot of my crochet groups, you can only sell items for what people are willing to pay for in your area. I have one last favor to ask you. Out of all the viewers that watch my videos, only 3% subscribe to my channel. If you like what you're seeing and want to see my channel grow, please support me by subscribing. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Have a blessed day, everybody. Bye-bye.